You see this big map behind me? We're going to return to that in just a moment. GameMasters here, and I filmed part of this video several months back, but I haven't really been prepared to record the full thing, at least not up until now. I backed Dragonbane last year when I heard about it. Free League Publishing. This company has been sweeping the planet with awesome role-playing games, and I've featured several of them here on the channel, but when I heard about Dragonbane, I had to jump on it. This initial video was recorded when I first got the box, and this is me tearing into it. And I rather like the tagline, Mirth and Mayhem Role-Playing, which should tell you right off the bat that this game does not take itself too seriously. I remember the box being a bit snug in trying to get it open, but once inside there were all kinds of goodies, like these green dice. And if you look closely, you can see that the D20s have a dragon logo on the one spot, and the 20 spot is a logo of a demon. I'll explain what those are in just a little bit later in the video. We have treasure cards, adventure cards, initiative cards, and improvised weapon cards. I'll also talk about them in a bit as well. And in this little plastic bag are some plastic stands. And those are for some cardboard miniatures that we'll look at in just a moment. This games catalog is simply that, a catalog of Free League's games. This is the cover sheet, which basically explains that if you've opened the box and you're reading it, then you're likely the game master, and I am GameMasters, so... It further explains to have each player create their character, and as the Game Master, I am to familiarize myself with the rulebook and read the introduction and opening scene in the adventure book. And this is why I recorded this box opening video previously and didn't just jump into making videos about it. I wanted to run Dragonbane, but really wanted to understand the game so that when I did start making videos, I'd be able to talk competently about the game itself as well as its mechanics. Combined with my real-world work schedule and other videos, it's taken me a little longer than I wanted, but here we are, and I've gotten several pages of video ideas that I've compiled for Dragonbane, so be sure to subscribe if you want to see more. Digging further into the box, and we have the rulebook, and I gotta say, the artwork in here is amazing. Over several videos, I'll be doing deep dives into this so that you can see exactly how the game itself is played. We also have this book of adventures, and I really like the binding, but I don't want to spend too much time diving through the adventures themselves. I'm just not too keen on giving away the spoilers for those of you that's going to actually be playing in those adventures. There is also a solo adventure that you can play called Alone in Deepfall Breach. You can even run this game with a small group, even if you don't have a Game Master to run you through it. This is the map, and it's flat out, straight up a work of art, but more about the map in just a moment. You also get this two-sided square battle map. One side is grasslands, the other is dungeon tiles, and that's going to be handy for just your brawling combat. There are several pre-made characters as well, with each one detailing out a brief background and that character's abilities. And yeah, I like the mallard, so I'll certainly be making one of those up in a future video to show you how to create a character. These are the cardboard cutout miniatures that I was referring to earlier. They just pop out and fit into the plastic bases that were included. And now for the map. I sprang for the deluxe version of Dragonbane, and it came with this massive cloth map that measures about 30 inches tall by about 40 inches wide. It's stout, more like a blanket really, and I've been a fan of cloth maps ever since I played the Ultima games back in the early 1980s, and this one is huge and full of color and detail. Here you can see my hand next to one of the towns, just to show you the scale. Jumping back to the dice and their logos, Dragonbane is based off of a 1980s role-playing game from Sweden. I'm not going to pronounce this correctly, but it was called Drakar och Demoner, which translates to Dragons and Demons. Dungeons & Dragons had taken off and was successful in the United States, but internationally it was a bit difficult to get, so it wasn't uncommon for creative minds to begin making up their own RPG. In Dungeons & Dragons, the aim was when rolling a d20 is to roll high. In Dragonbane, you want to roll low. Rolling a 1 is called rolling a dragon. This means that your attempt to do something was very successful, whereas rolling a 20 means that the roll has failed, and this is regardless of your skill level. Rolling a 20 is called rolling a demon. And I'll go over dice and how they're used in the game in a future video, but knowing that the name of the original game, Drakar och Demoner, is reflected in the dice themselves, that's just kind of a neat connection. Treasure cards are used to quickly generate something at random that the player has found. Initiative cards are used to randomly generate who gets to go first in combat. Improvised weapon cards provide examples of how to use possible items or locations in the game, as well as improvised weapons. For example, you could use a hole in the ground, a crevice to trip an enemy into, or you may find a wasp's nest that you can hurl at an enemy, and the wasp inside will sting them. Like I said, the game doesn't really take itself too seriously. The adventure cards included represent the adventures that are found in the adventure book. When a player hears about one of the adventures from an NPC, they'll get the corresponding adventure card. And these are more or less hooks that the Game Master can use to kickstart off any given adventure. I'll go into a deeper look at the cards and how they work in a future video, but do make note that the cards are somewhat optional. Dragonbane's rulebook is exceptionally light, clocking in at just 116 pages, but they're not all rules. Chapter 1 covers the extreme basics of the game and spells out what the various abbreviations found within mean and how to use the sidebars. Chapter 2 covers talks about your character choices, the type of race you can be, profession choices, what your attributes are, and Dragonbane uses strength, constitution, agility, intelligence, willpower, and charisma. Chapter 3 covers your skills and abilities. For example, you might have performance, which uses charisma. You roll a d20. Again, you want to roll low, but this allows you to sing songs, make jokes, read poems in an attempt to amuse an individual or a crowd. Chapter 4 goes over combat and damage and covers elements like melee combat, ranged combat, how to get a critical hit, or how to parry and dodge. It also covers what happens if you die, as well as how to recover lost hit points. Chapter 5 is all about using magic and casting spells. Dragonbane uses willpower points for magic, which can be spent to cast spells. For example, to cast the light spell, which illuminates a 10-meter radius, that's going to cost you 1 willpower point. Magic is broken down into 3 schools: animism, elementalism, and mentalism. I'll do a deep dive into magic and how it works in a future video as well, so again, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that. Chapter 6 is all about gear, stuff that your character can purchase, wear, and wield. We're talking armor, weapons, musical instruments, trade goods like a magnifying glass, rope, whistles. To give you an idea of the types of weapons, you can purchase a Morning Star for 14 gold, and it does 2d8 bludgeoning damage, or you can grab up a dagger for 1 gold, and it can do 1d8 slashing or piercing damage. Chapter 7 explores the monsters, and these are some of the more common ones found in Dragonbane. But in this rulebook, you'll find demons, dragons, ghosts, skeletons, goblins, griffins, orcs, and trolls, as well as others, but sadly there's no zombies. Oh, and one other thing about monsters. They never roll dice to hit their target. Their attacks just simply succeed automatically. Chapter 8 provides to the Game Master tools, tables, and charts to help to be able to create adventures for their players, as well as full-on lengthy campaigns. The big appeal for me with Dragonbane is its simplistic approach to tabletop gaming. It's got rules, but at the same time, it's very rules-light. Sure, there are times when I like crunch, when I like to eat my grape nuts right out of the box, but there are other times where I like a laid-back gaming session, where the grape nuts have gotten soft and warm milk. And Dragonbane is like that. And don't get me wrong, combat is brutal, but the focus is on the role-playing. and I'm digging that. I want to thank everyone for watching today's video. My name is Brian, and I've been playing and running role-playing games since the 1980s. I also want to thank these fine YouTube and Patreon supporters, as their contributions to the channel have made it so that I didn't need to take on a sponsored ad specifically for today's video. If you'd like to check out on how to support this channel, I'll leave a link down in the description. But over on my Patreon, I'm giving my contributing patrons some fun adventure goodies, so be sure to check that out. Also, too, check out my rockin' Discord. We have some very lively discussions, and it's also in part where I get ideas from you on what videos to make. So if you want to help shape the channel and the future of where we're going, feel free to hop into our Discord and tell me what you'd like to see. Dragonbane is a fun game. It's got some hardcore role-playing aspects to it, and as mentioned, I'm excited to explore it with you. What is an aspect of Dragonbane you'd like to know more about? Let me know down in the comments, and until next our paths cross, may you not roll a demon.